What's an injury you sustained and lied about how it actually happened because it was too embarrassing? I was once buttering toast with my face really close to it. I like my butter to be spread precisely. Then I sneezed and slammed my head on the counter, effectively knocking myself out, and had to go to the ER to be treated for a concussion. In 3rd grade I was holding a pencil in my fist, point up. I sneezed and face planted into it. I'm 24 now, and every once in a while someone tells me that I have blue ink on my forehead. I then have to tell them that it's actually a scar from stabbing myself in the face mid-sneeze. I can sympathize. Thank you for the gold. For those asking, I'll try to see if I can post a picture tonight. I'm not sure how to add a photo to this second. Unfortunately I could only manage to take blurry photos of my tiny accident face tattoo, but here it is. Blue scars are funky. I've got one on my knee from when I kneeled on a broken pencil tip. I was terrified I was going to die. I was like 7 and had no idea pencil lead wasn't lead anymore. I'm sorry, but this is amazing. I'm almost crying with laughter. I once fell out of bed and cracked my head open on a metal frame. Blood everywhere, a visit, stitches etc. I was about 6 years old. I still have the scar decades later. My mother literally changed our beds, even though we really couldn't afford it to safer ones. The truth is, I didn't want to go to bed, so I flung myself out of bed to pretend to be hurt and maybe get to stay up for a short while longer. My sister probably has the same scar, but luckily she has a ton of hair. As the older sister, it was my job to convince her to do dumb things, and she listened when I told her to jump on the bed. But then she fell out and split her head on the metal bed frame. My dad rushed us to the hospital, and my mom came home from work to find us missing, blood everywhere, and no note or anything. Before cell phones, my dad and I were both in trouble after that. And that's why you always leave a note. Rather rush the kid to the hospital if they are able to be moved. In high school I was just messing around with some friends in the parking lot after school, and I had jumped off the back end of my friend's car while it was in motion and landed on my foot really goofy. I either broke a bone in my foot or badly sprained it because I couldn't walk on it. I didn't want my mom to get mad at me for being an idiot, so I wrapped it up every day for a few months to keep it straight and not hurting. The pain eventually went away, but it was a rough few months that I had to fake not having a limp. She never really questioned while I was wearing pants every day for the early summer months, so whatever. I guess I never really lied about what happened, just never came forward about it. Did you end up with permanent damage? That sounds pretty intense. Nah, pretty sure it was just a heavy sprain. From what I can tell, nothing permanent. Any reason you didn't just tell your mom it happened some other way and not risk permanent damage? I cut my thumb with an axe. The cut was almost to the bone. I never told anyone because I was told not to play with the axe. This is when I was 6 years old. Eugene, someone should have told you to be careful with that axe. Or if he had listened to the axe, it might have said, I swear, one of these days I'm going to cut you into little pieces. One time in chemistry I managed to get a drop of concentrated sulfuric acid on my nose. It was the most physically painful experience of my entire life. I just sat in the back of the classroom wiping tears out my eyes silently because I was too awkward to say anything. Next lesson people asked me what was up with my nose, had an awkward time explaining how you get sulfuric acid on your nose. I just itched my nose like an idiot. My trifluoroacetic acid scar that is about 6x4 on my left forearm isn't a lab accident, as I tell people. I use the acid to cover my self-harm scars, which were prolific and noticeable. I got the idea from the hot iron scene in the movie Rush, when Jason Patrick burns off his needle marks. This scar is still incredibly obvious, but is easily explained away. I have never admitted that to anyone. I did it in 1995. Since it's a more noticeable scar, but with less stigma surrounding it, would you do it again, or leave the old scars? I'm guessing the scars were too hypertrophic for a tattoo. I'm glad you quit. Congrats and good job. I'm glad you are still here. How are you doing? I got surgery a few years ago on my knees as I had dislodged some loose cartilage in the joint and also torn a bit of my meniscus. At the time I was playing a ton of ultimate frisbee, so I just told people it was that. It actually happened when I was getting up from a chair. Hahaha. I dislocated my kneecap playing ultimate frisbee and was embarrassed, so I told people I was sparring MMA. Chair ultimate frisbee MMA updated hierarchy beanbag chair mini golf frisbee golf ultimate frisbee MMA lifting whale Fallujah dragons. Oh man, I totally did the same thing. Went too hard for a fake and wrenched my knee pretty good. I wouldn't be ashamed of that though. It's a pretty intense sport and it's picking up a lot of traction. I once gave myself a black eye trying to move one of those heavy boxes containers of cat litter. I leaned over to pick it up, and unbeknownst to me, it was actually empty instead of the full 35 pounds I was expecting. Brought it up fast and the corner of the container clocked me in the eye. Thankfully my school and friends know I'm fairly clumsy as it is, so they didn't really bat an eye at it once I assured them it was just my clumsiness. A fun tidbit, I've lived in the same house since I was born and have fallen down the same stairs. I literally learned how to stairs on over 25 times in my life. I'm 18, almost 19 now. I literally learned how to stairs on never heard to stairs used as a verb. When I was younger, maybe 6 or 7, I cut myself, on purpose, with the razor blade in the shower across the palm of my hand. It bled and bled and bled. I don't know why I did it, it just didn't look sharp, and I was like, welp, let's try that. I lied and told my parents I had knocked my dad's razor off the shower caddy and, on a gut reaction, tried to catch the blade before it dropped, thus cutting my hand. The cut was all the way across my palm as opposed to the size of the razor, so my story was doubtful, but they seemed to buy it. Wrapped my hand, and we got ice cream. All in all, a good day. I got a black eye as a kid. I slipped and fell into the support beam of my basketball rim. My dad made me lie to my other family members and say I got it defending some kids at school. He was pretty embarrassed at how terrible I was at basketball lol. I kinda skimmed through the comment and misread it as you hitting your head on the rim. Thought I found Blake Griffin's alt account. I'm sorry your dad was like that, friend. There are many things in life that everyone should be expected to be good at. Basketball is not one of them. It's okay to be bad at basketball and most sports, in general. Was driving along at night and wanted to use some nasal spray I'd bought earlier for hay fever. Reached into the glove box and got the bottle out, and while driving along took a big hit of the nasal spray. Immediately felt an overwhelmingly burning sensation in my nostril and had to pull over. Through teary eyes I checked the nasal spray thinking it must have expired or something, then realized I'd picked up a bottle of super glue and honked a good squirt up my nose. Would not recommend that to anyone. Told my missus when I got home I'd hurt my nose in the gym because sniffing glue is not something you tell people. Was out of works for months with this one. Broke my finger and severed the tendon catching a heavy door to hold for a cute girl. Just wondering if you acted like everything was cool until she was out of sight. That's a lot of damage, but I have faith he kept it cool. I think it was worth it if she at least smiled or acknowledged you. Yes, but did you get a number? He didn't even get a glance. F. So, did you get a squirtle in her meow-woof? When I was younger we dismantled one of those plastic football goals and reassembled it into a giant golf club. I was then swiftly hit in the face, causing my cheek to rip open. I had to tell my dad that someone kicked the football too hard into my face because I didn't want to admit that I was beaten by a homemade plastic rod. Picture of the scar for those asking. I can only see a beautiful smile though. I literally see no scar lol. Where is it? On her cheek. Poured scalding hot grease into my shoe when working in a kitchen. Had to look my boss dead in the eye and say I was fine because I was scared to get drug tested. I waited 10 minutes to go investigate the damage so nothing seemed suspicious. Worst burn I've ever had. I was a dishwasher and someone put a fry basket in my sink without telling me, and I reached in to get the utensils that I knew were at the bottom. Such a bad burn. I still have the scar. I opened a cabinet very hard and hit myself in the head. Then I went and played football 6th grade, and after that I started throwing up and getting dizzy and stuff, and that's how we found out I had a concussion. Although football definitely played a part in it, the doctor said me hitting myself with the cabinet definitely made the same, if not more of an impact than the 3 plays I played in that game lol. So I told everyone football was the reason. I once semi-dislocated my kneecap in such a way that my leg locked up and I was in incredible pain by sitting down to eat at the dinner table and twisting my leg somehow. I hurt myself sitting down. Instead I told my friends I had fallen down a steep hill on the local heathland, but my brother told them the truth, and I was promptly mocked. Okay, this one got me laughing so hard my stomach hurts now. When my youngest brother was a few months old he liked to chew on people's knuckles to soothe his teething pain. I was about 15 when he decided my chin was a dope replacement for a knuckle and I proceeded to let him chew at my chin for a few minutes. Ended up with a duck hickey and told people it'd fallen off my bike because how does a 15-year-old girl explain she has a hickey from a baby without it coming across terribly? It hurt too. Around 5 months ago I was playing soccer with people 4 grades above me. I was a goalkeeper. I generally don't play in this position. They kick the ball, it hits the upper bar, falls on my hand and bang. Next day I have a cast and 2 fractured bones in my wrist area. What's funny is I told my mom I didn't know who did it, but of course she knew I was lying. I feel it was worth it, because the ball didn't go in so fully took off my nail. While playing football I said, was playing sport. Just an intense game of sword fighting on Wii Sport Resort, and slammed my hand really hard on a table. You should just say you lost it during a sword fight. Fine. Don't tell me what happened then. As someone who once actually got run through the hand in a sword fight, nobody will believe him. A scar across my forehead. I got it from hitting my head on a fan as a child, and it's still kind of there. I always just say that my cat scratched me and it went pretty deep, therefore the reason it's still there. And now everybody hates the cat. At this point I'm torn between using a Harry Potter reference or a Captain Marvel one.